thank you. Now, see this. This is from Global Carbon Project, and this gave a representation on how India's position was changing in terms of carbon emissions. Carbon emissions. Remember, emissions can be measured in 3 ways. Carbon dioxide emissions, carbon dioxide equivalent emissions, and carbon emissions. Okay. Carbon emissions give the lowest number. So this is given in terms of carbon emissions. This showed how carbon emissions were changing from 90s, in fact, much before, and up to 2020. Okay, so I want you to watch India's position, how India's position was changing in this. Okay. So India was bypassing many countries, and its emissions were very low at one time. So nowhere in 80s, and then it picked up in 90s across Germany, and then Japan, and then Russia. And then it reached 0.7 gigatons, or 0.7, you can say billion tons in 2020. 1.2 by US and 2.9 by China. So India reached third largest emitter position. Okay. Now, why is this happening like this, and what may be the future to this kind of position? Let us go to something else. Okay. What is going to be the future of India's rank in this? What are the variables in this? Number one, India continues to grow economically. Okay, this is one thing. There is going to be continuous growth. Continues to grow. This is one. And second thing is, a lot of dependence on coal. Okay. After coal, other fossil fuels. Okay. Why there is so much of dependence on coal, and what are our growth projections, and what actually are the broad parameters of our climate policy is what we are going to discuss. See, this is about gigatons of CO2 equivalent. And China now like this, and it wants to 12.5 gigatons by 2030. And then when does it want to be zero? Suddenly by 60. Are you able to see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, sir. Next, India. How much? Around 5 gigatons. 530. And then when does it want to be zero? According to recent policy, 2070. Okay. So that is what is meant by net zero concept. India by 2070 and China by 2060. But the point is, as we discussed before, how will they achieve this net zero? They're continuing to grow like this. And then within 30. So there's an issue. Net zero concept is very problematic concept because it depends upon non-existent technologies. Okay. So that is one issue. And how does this, I mean, it means that both China and India want to reach high levels of growth. Involves a lot of coal use. This is another picture. India's dependence on coal. 70% of India's electricity comes from coal. And for China, it is half. 7 lakh jobs are in coal sector in India. So India continue to depend on coal, and the target is that by 2030 renewable will be 500 gigawatt capacity, but it is only 50% of the total, which means coal is going to be higher even in 2030, and then others, oil and gas and other things. So there is no provision for phasing out coal. There is no provision for reducing the growth, and coal continues to be, as long as there is coal, it continues to be a very important source of emissions. For example, this graph shows that in 2020, coal is one very important source of emissions. Okay, next oil and next other gases. Okay, so in a nutshell, India is going to continue to grow, and the growth is going to be coal based, and renewable energy is going to reduce the use of coal, but not really phase out or make a significant difference because of continuous growth. And we have seen the global picture of what happens if we continue to grow like this. But what is happening in India is this. India, this is contributing to air pollution. For example, this is the WHO recommendation in terms of average population weight PM 2.5 exposure, milligrams per cubic meter in 2019. WHO recommendation is this. World is above China, India, Delhi. Delhi is the worst. India is much higher. And all over India, a significant percentage of the people are subjected to air pollution. Okay. The data shows that in 2019, 1.67 million premature deaths due to air pollution alone. How can we say they are air pollution related? Air pollution causes cardiorespiratory, lung cancer, low birth weight, cognitive impairment, and unusually it causes diabetes also. Diabetes is not simply due to wrong kind of eating, but also due to certain pollutants where metabolism is disrupted. 76% of Indian population is exposed to poor quality air, and 13 of the world's 20 most polluted cities are in India as per WHO 2014. Delhi is the worst city, but in fact, at one time Delhi did better. Series of public interest litigations between 84 and 85 led to many changes, including phasing out of leaded petrol, installation of catalytic converters, public transport to CNG, relocation of industries to outside Delhi. So it improved by 2000, but after that, there was not much of monitoring, and finally pollution kept on increasing, and it became a very serious issue again from 2015 onwards. Okay, so this is India's contribution to global emissions, and also it is contributing to air pollution inside. India's argument is in terms of who is causing this problem. So this gives a very comprehensive picture of who is causing the problem. So look at this. Okay. Are you able to see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, very comprehensive. Cumulative CO2 emissions between 1750 to 2019 in billions of tons. Okay. How much did India contribute? 52. Compared to China, 220. Entire Asia, 508. But EU, 365. Russia, 114. Ukraine, 30. United States, 410. Okay. So this is a very comprehensive picture of who did what. Okay. Cumulative CO2 emissions. So India's argument is we contributed only this much. And so you have contributed more, and you have to do more, and we have the right to develop. That is India's argument, which is called differential responsibilities, collective but differential responsibilities. The argument is not completely wrong. Definitely the people who have contributed more are also wealthy and they should help other countries. But leaving the past, India and China has made a major contribution, and India, if it continues, then it is going to make a major contribution. It's going to disrupt the whole world economy. And if they were not wrong in contributing, why will India be right in contributing? And India will contribute, and when India contributes, so many countries are going to be affected, and more importantly, India is going to be affected. So, India as a representative, as consisting of 1.4 billion people, I think has more responsibility, because through its actions it can change the world. So if it follows the Chinese path, the world simply can't survive. And if China wants to reach the per capita emissions of US or other countries, simply the world can't survive. So these are the issues. So my argument is that number one, country should go for degrowth. Degrowth should be a strategy, and decarbonization. And then if you are not growing, but whatever the growth is in terms of decarbonization, you have to look into in terms of distribution. That's what justice is, which should distribution also. And India doing these three things, it can also ask from other countries help, or climate finance and other things. And here market can help develop carbon markets world over, and also internal. Carbon market is nothing but a company or a country whatever it is, will have some quota, and beyond that, if it is contributing, then it has to pay for projects that contribute to carbon absorption. Okay. So that's what carbon market is, and clean development mechanism. So these deal with the various ways by which cost should be paid, and how developmental projects have to be financed. Okay, so these things call for proper global governance, because identifying the project in such a way that is environmentally sustainable, people take part, there are no complaints and there is no corruption, and that contributes to better climate, and then that is properly funded, monitored. Okay. So problem is very, very severe, and then there are distributional aspects which call for global governance, a better global governance. Okay. But whatever be the distributional issues, I don't think one can go on adding to the emissions on the ground that our per capita emissions are low and we have the right to develop, because it is time to learn that development is not industrialization. So Chinese development itself was wrong. and Indian development would also be wrong. The West developed, but they developed when they did not know that they were doing this. They were going to do these atrocious things. So I propose these are the three important things that India should, and I would say this is the way that India should lead or should set an example. And more importantly, even if regardless of who contributes to the problem, the cost is going to be more by underdeveloped and also more by India. Okay. Nature is not going to punish less those countries and those people who have contributed less. It is not going to, it is not like that. In fact, that is the problem. So it is in the interests of India to redefine development and move in such a way that climate is not disrupted. And also locally, what is the problem to the air pollution? What is the problem to food pollution, land pollution, air pollution, kind of unsustainable agriculture? And who loses more when our development is not resilient, climate resilient? So, so this shows that we have to move in a completely different way. And more importantly, there is not much time left. There is really nothing much to think in terms of targets in 2030 and then 2070s. 2070 target is just meaningless because we don't have the technology for net zero. And then we continue to grow till 2030. It is again not meaningful because climate emergency shows that we don't have many years for temperature to go beyond 2C, and certain irreversible events can happen. So so this is an issue that India should think and chart out its path, and I think this is what India's role globally. Okay, this should be the defining moment for India to show that it has something to show, set an example or lead the world instead of simply following China or simply following the West.